Okay, so let's call the meeting to order. 16, do the roll call.
Chairman,
Here.
Commissioner Austin,
Yeah.
Commissioner Mural,
Here.
Commissioner Manzigo, Commissioner Rockman, Commissioner Stolzer, Commissioner Redwood,
Here.
Councilmember LaPartie, here. You have one.
Okay, great. We have any correspondence? Okay. You should receive the minutes in your packet on your desk in front of you and also by email. Take a moment, like a short moment, read the minutes, and if anyone has any corrections. We'll entertain a motion to accept and second, and then we'll talk about it and then approve or disapprove.
Motion to accept.
Second. Got a second? Okay, any discussion? Nope. Yeah. No, okay. Can I get oh,
Chairman,
me?
Katie. Commissioner Austin. Commissioner Barlow,
Accepted.
Commissioner Redwood,
Yes.
passes.
Awesome. Old business, mural update. There's been emails flying around. Thank you, Katie, for getting me in there.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
Destination Oneonta is paying for it. The city didn't feel it was necessary for them to do anything to further this. However, the city also requires, if somebody's working on city property, a liability waiver. So I've asked Council Merzig to please get the three parties together. That would be Destination Oneonta, the city, which may mean one of us representing the Arts Commission, and the artist together to figure this out. We have money from Destination Oneonta. We have the artist ready, willing, and able. We just need to sign a quick contract and get this project going. So I will keep you guys in the loop as soon as I find out when a meeting is, and if I can't make it, I'll ask one of you guys to represent us there. Okay. Utility box art. I was in Boston last week, saw some nice utility box art. Everything's like simple things from painting a utility box that looks like the building behind it to, you know, and there was one that was all different types of candy. What we should probably do is once we get the mural project going, which will require some infrastructure on the city's part, we can use that infrastructure to put out an RFP for utility box art. The city has been reluctant to give us a budget. So every time we figure out a project, we're going to have to figure out a budget for it and go to city council and ask for money. I think that we should also be in serious discussion perhaps with the city administrator about doing a percentage for art, whether it's 0.5%, 1/4%, anything, in order to fund this stuff.
We don't already have it.
No, we don't have a percentage for art. We don't have a budget. Last December, I asked a couple of council members if they would, budget $20,000 for the Arts Commission. One council member said he would see what they could do, and the other council member said probably not. I don't know if that's been brought up in council meetings. I haven't been following.
So I can update on that. So I brought it up in the legislative committee and I did bring up the percentage for art, and I'm no longer on the legislative committee. That doesn't stop me from bringing stuff up. I brought up the percentage for art, and at the time they sort of said, our capital projects are, so the way a percentage for art works is it's typically 1% of the budget for capital projects. We didn't have any capital projects scheduled for 2022. And there was some hesitancy about the amount of money that would generate, which would be in like the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so because there weren't any capital projects scheduled for 2022, the discussion on that sort of was pushed aside.
Isn't the West Street project scheduled for 2022?
Is it budgeted?
It's already been budgeted. So what we have to do is we have to apply it to anything that they're planning in the future, because the contractors signed a contract saying.
Right. I'm like that, yes, but there's some reason why that was not. Okay. That being said, capital projects, what was I gonna say after that? Shoot. The budget, oh my gosh, yes, and so the other piece of pushback that I heard was that they would like to see a comprehensive plan from the commission to understand the scope of the work that you guys are looking to do
Okay.
before funding. So I think that would be really helpful, truthfully, is if they had some idea of where we were gonna go with this money before they lay it on the table. The other thing is, I'm no longer a member of the legislative committee, but I'm now a member of the economic development committee. And there is like a ton of hard data on the economic benefit of public art. And so I plan to bring it forward in that committee as well for discussion. To get the backing of that committee to then probably go forward to the full council for discussion.
Would you mind shooting us an email when that is on the agenda for that committee?
Sure,
And then we can show up and talk about it too.
I would love that.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So really, the takeaway is then we'll have to start developing a comprehensive plan for, places we want to put art, what kind of art we want to put there, how we're going to tie it all together. We talked earlier about using art as a wayfinder through different neighborhoods to get people off of Main Street and out and about in Oneonta. So, I mean, that's a huge thought project, I think,
Mhm.
that we'll have to, maybe we can break it up into pieces and give everybody a piece and then, figure out how we're gonna do that. And is that something we can discuss by email?
You can have general discussion, but nothing else to this.
Right, so what we can have, by decision, do you mean we can discuss what we need to do and split up the tasks that we need to do to make that decision at the end? Okay.
Yeah, you just probably couldn't say yeah, this is good. and
We
all
will
like
be
it.
doing this.
Right.
Right, but we can say this, we can have a discussion saying, these are the ideas that we need, let's say, areas of the city we need to focus on. These are the ideas for those areas of the city. I'll give Ian, downtown, and Andrew, Neil Park, Rich Barlow, the Sixth Ward, or whatever, however we break it out. Okay.
I think too, if I can add to that, going back to the economic driver piece, if once specific projects are identified, then if we could provide some data on, if that project is taking place in another municipality, what benefits to that municipality.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So if there's a sculpture trail in Cherry Valley, right, for example, we know there is, and we intend to do a sculpture trail, and that's part of the comprehensive plan. If we can do that research of saying this specific project had this benefit to Cherry Valley, we anticipate this here, again, I think that might help.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It
You're
does.
squinting at me, so it might not.
No, the reason I'm looking is I've had conversations with Ithaca, Syracuse,
Mhm.
and I just contacted, was it Coral Gables? The link you sent me? No.
Florida?
Link you shared for public art. Someplace in Florida.
Huh, there was a call for interest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah, but other public art commissions share the same problem, both with funding and with also proving, finding empirical proof that this is gonna be a benefit to the community.
Mhm.
I think that we're all going on, there's a public art handbook, which, I've breezed through, and there's public art studies, and there's, a lot of studies, like national study was that the public art brings in $13 billion in revenue over the nation, and then New York State is something up to $3 billion in revenue.
Mhm.
I don't know, do you think we have the skill sets to quantify what the economic benefit would be to Oneonta if we were to put a sculpture trail in Nemo Park?
You have to look at comparable sized communities and then somehow get that data, which who knows if it's even competing.
Well, like I said, having talked to communities of similar, in similar vein, like what we're trying to do here, they don't They don't even collect that data.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, think about the Cherry Valley one, there is like a opening sort of event thing, like there's something where people show up for
Right.
this year's, unveiling of the sculpture trail. I imagine you can get numbers of how many people show up to that, and there's gotta be an economic impact to that.
Yeah, I mean, even if you could say, and this is just a suggestion to kind of bolster the argument, right? I don't know that it's necessary at all, let alone for every single project. But yeah, even if you could say, this sculpture trail in Cherry Valley draws 200 people on this one day and, whatever, just that kind of thing. Again, I just think that it would strengthen any suggestion that the
Right.
commission made, but, I think that would be worth looking into to see if that data could be provided.
Okay.
Yeah,
We could
that's my
even,
suggestion.
at least, on social media or anything like that, look for tags or something with specific murals in places. Just try to get numbers on tourism, how many people are going, taking a picture with this place, at least give some idea of outer towners coming in. Just another place to find numbers.
And Oneonta has already been identified in the past several studies they've done, that it's an arts community, and that we should sell it in part as an arts community. Okay. That gives us food for thought. That's stuff that we can definitely talk about through email and figure out how to approach it. So we have some prices for the utility box wraps that we're going around. And like I said before, when the city and destination and Oneonta can figure out how we're gonna approach the mural project, we'll have some of the infrastructure built in, having artist agreements and liability clauses, waivers and stuff like that. So we can maybe move forward with the utility box project. I mean, I would like to say spring, but I know the city politics, the council moves at a glacial pace, so it'll probably be fall, I don't know. So next year.
Seems like it'd be good before or during summer for tourists to see something now.
Oh, yeah, it would be great.
Especially if we want to measure some kind of impact.
Right,
So with those, I was in Knoxville the past week and they have utility boxes wrapped, which I like to see, but they didn't, so from afar, they looked good. But once you got, within 10 feet of them, you saw the pixelation.
Okay.
And they stopped feeling, at least for me, like an art project and more like advertisement. It didn't have that same feel as seeing the actual brushstrokes or the spray paint on the box.
right.
So I think that's something to consider. Also, when going up, if you see a crew just throwing up a sticker on a utility box, that has less of an impact than seeing someone there painting it and putting in the time. In terms of longevity, I'd be curious to know, but I think ultimately we're going for art, not advertisement. So we want to make sure we're still capturing that with these.
I think the one advantage to the wrap, and I take your point, I agree that it's a commercial product and so it feels like that. One advantage to it is you could change them every year, which you could do with paint too, but eventually that's going to build up.
Yeah, I don't see these being changed yearly, whether
Why
wrapped
not?
or why not? You're right, why not? But
I mean, I think that's the advantage to me is like you could have a call every year and wrap all the electric.
Right, and
boxes.
do a themed call.
Where are you getting the idea that they're advertisements?
I was just saying that's the feel they gave. So, you get up close to it and you can very much see that it's a sticker on the box and it loses the feel of an art project, of someone putting in the time to create this. And the pixelation too, I think is something to take into consideration. If an artist submits their drawing, we're losing part of that drawing, that painting, if it becomes.
But they could submit a photograph that was pixelated when it was created.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
ultimately, the pixelation, it comes down to what the company is asking of the artist. The artist says we need 500 DPI or something crazy to print it, to have it not be blurry, so that's, if you don't want pixelation, then you just ask for higher resolution of the digital file.
I
The
do,
artist would have to supply that.
I do take the point though that it is a commercial language that sort of rap, bus raps and things like that we've seen. I would argue that the art is in the artist's decisions, whatever they come up with is, even if it's pixelated, if it's well thought out, if it's interesting, if it's a compelling thing, I think it'll transcend that sense.
I mean,
You just don't want it to look cheap, right?
I don't want it to look cheap, but now we're getting to the point where an artist is doing a drawing for a box. They'll have to take into consideration that it's not going to be the medium, that it's not going to be a paint. It's going to be a printed. Now, I don't know whether or not that changes the fact for them. But I think ultimately it changes. Personally speaking, I'm not an artist. I'm
I'm an artist.
so,
But I can weigh in on that.
so walking around town, I've seen painted boxes before, and now seeing the wrapped ones.
Yeah.
It's a big difference for me. The wraps, again, like you're saying, it's a commercial feel. I want people to see the artist painting the box. I don't want them to see a company coming with, a truck and then just slapping something on and driving away.
I guess, I take your point, and so I do, yet I also think as an artist, if I saw a call for entries which said this will be photographically reproduced boxes, I would come up with a project that worked for that. I wouldn't probably make a graphite drawing to be then printed that way. I would come up with something else that I thought worked with that medium. And I think I have two other thoughts on that. So one other thought is, I kind of feel like this commission should have multiple avenues we're following. So if we have a sculpture trail that is like full-scale bronze sculptures, and if every year or biannually or something, we have a full-size painted permanent mural that we're behind. I think also having, a cheap and fast electric box thing that we can turn over every year. As I said, like when I heard about the wraps, I thought, great, we can do a call every year and like have a theme or whatever and change them in a way that with paint is a little harder, just because paint does build up. And also, if you want it to be permanent, having done some permanent murals, the sun and the weather destroys paint if you don't do a lot of protection. So the wraps are, I agree they are, it's a commercial language, but I think we could leverage that, and only accept our proposals that work in that language.
Sure.
Maybe they make a mockery of advertising,
Right.
There's plenty of ways you can do that. The other thing I wanted to say about those, there was something that came up for me. This could work with paintings, murals, whatever, or wraps, but I was talking to Joe Von Stengel the other day, and he's doing all this stuff experimenting with augmented reality right now. And so you can also use these as an augmented reality trigger. So you look at the box through your phone, and then a video would start that was triggered by whatever was there, or really expanded. So at that point, again, it's maybe an advertising language as well, but maybe it's a fun and attractive thing for people to engage with.
In Boston, I saw two types of boxes. One was painted, and there were some great designs. But the other one was kind of weird. As I was driving out of Boston, I was stopping my sister-in-law. She lives in one of the neighborhoods, something like the ring neighborhoods around the center of Boston. But all of those neighborhoods, there are utility boxes on the side of the street that announce the neighborhood. And I'm sure they're wraps. They look great when you drive by. And like you said, you walk up close to them and, they get pixelated. But we don't have to have one approach to this stuff. We can probably do multiple approaches. The thing I like about wraps is if we go to the utility company and say we're putting something temporary on there, they may be more amenable to saying, hey, that's a great idea, we'll help you out. And if we say every year we're going to take off the old wrap and we're going to do another themed show, we're going to put on a new wrap, they may like that idea better than layers of paint. And I say that with my experience in the fire department, seeing hydrants that get decorated in neighborhoods, and they're just paint layer after paint layer after paint layer, to the point where sometimes they're inoperable because there's so much paint on them.
So I think we could split the difference too, and again, like have a call for wraps, and every year, one litter gets to paint one permanent one, or something, like, there's no reason you can't do both.
Ultimately, I feel like we limit, all it's gonna do is just limit what an artist can do. So, I mean, if,
The wrap,
no, by saying that it's one or the other. It's like, you could be a painter, but if you're not, and you're a digital artist, you could make an amazing picture digitally, but you wouldn't be able to paint, you just may not know how to do that. So for you, having a digital printout of it is the way to view your art. So,
And vice versa.
ultimately, it's like, ultimately, the project is decorate a box. How you choose to do it based on what your skill set is can vary. The fact that we have a already laid out price, if they should choose to do a wrap, will make anyone submitting digital art for that already one step ahead, because they'll know what the flat price is.
right, or even not digital art, they can say, we can give them a template of the box of the wrap, because it's gonna be different shapes, and they can put their art in it.
So do we offer, when putting out a call for a box then, do we give them the choice? Do you wanna have your piece put on a wrap, or do you wanna paint it, or do we decide for them? And then
I would say
we
ask
have
them what they prefer.
I would say ask the electric company what they.
Yeah, the other thing, yeah, coming in the city, we have to ask them what they prefer.
Well, assuming the city is okay with either, do we give the choice to the artist then?
I guess then the question is, do we want to turn it over frequently, or do we want these to be somewhat permanent? And that.
Right.
Well, another
Or do we like look at all the boxes
With
and
the
select
wrap,
some
no.
for some to rotate and some not?
with the wraps, there is the added cost. Cause if we're just painting, we're paying the artist for their work and their time, plus materials. For the wraps, we're paying the artist to create the piece. And then plus we're paying for the installation and the wrap itself.
Right, which would be the materials, anyway,
I mean, the wrap was like $230 for.
the small one up to like $475 or something.
Yeah, I mean, is paint gonna cost $230 to do a box?
But it's the labor, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're
I'm
talking
just saying,
about,
it's,
you're
things
talking
to
about
consider.
preparing a surface. You're gonna have to get a certain type of paint, so it doesn't just peel off in the heat.
And ideally, a UV clear coat put over that paint.
Right, but
You don't want it.
that's only the first one, then the second one's gonna come in and have to do something different, whether they strip the paint, because they're using a different medium, or now they've got to defeat the clear coat in order to get their product to stay.
Yeah. And my thought is that we should find out what the electric company thinks. The thing I like about the wraps, despite taking the points, again, is much like the mural on the corrugated iron. It's like a down and dirty, like fast thing. If we say, we're just doing this, we don't have to weigh everybody's preferences. We can put out a call, submit your proposals for these, has to be these dimensions, this is the budget, this is what you get paid. And it's easy. And then after that first year of trying that, then maybe if there's an interest in it, or a response, then maybe we can look into permanent versions. Or I don't know, I mean, that would be my thought on the advantage of it, is we could get that out, flat budget, less negotiation, go to city council, say, this is what it'll be, this is how many there'll be, this is what the cost.
All right,
May I add my 2 cents?
what's that?
May I add
Yes,
my 2
please.
cents? I'm not a voting member, so, whatever you decide is up to you. I agree with you. I think getting the permission from the utility company and the city, if it's necessary, are the first step. I think, we had this discussion over email a little bit about what is, obviously everything will require some level of curation through this commission, but what is like a professional artist call and what could be a community building experience So when I hear Andrew talk about like seeing the artists out there, I'm also thinking about like if the kids in the Head Start program at Center Street School can do the big whatever transformer box that's right outside their school. You know, that's a really great community project. It's something that they may want to change every few years, but you know, it wouldn't necessarily be something that I get that idea of, you know, wanting to keep it fresh. I think that I was more in favor when you were sort of saying like maybe we select certain ones
Sure.
that change. Because I think, you know, I'm just Googling, because I know Rochester, New York has painted utility boxes also, like you were saying, they sort of identify the neighborhood, which I think is really cute. And actually I ended up Googling Rochester, Minnesota, and all of their utility boxes are painted. One of them has been up since 2013. So, and one was just painted last year. So I think that they are sort of staggering them, which again leads me to another thought of, you know, the idea that we might get the volume of submissions to change all of those utility boxes
How
every
many
year
boxes do we have?
is like, that it might not happen.
I wanna say there's,
You mapped a lot of them.
I wanna say maybe somewhere between 13 and 17.
Okay.
But there's actually been a couple more that I realized that I had overlooked. So, like, there's 2 in the parking garage on the second level. There's the one that's right across from the green area, which I said,
Yeah.
I don't know if I counted that one in my map.
I mean, that would be an awesome like wayfinding project, to put it there where people are actually driving into the city and they see something that catches their eye, or walking into the city, and see something that catches their eye that says, this is the place you've arrived.
And those might be the good ones to change, because they're higher visibility, and they sort of keep the public art fresh, whereas the ones that are like in the neighborhoods
I think you're right about
become
that.
sort of part of the neighborhood color.
Right, so maybe we should be looking at, there's probably utility boxes near the school to do a school project on.
I know
So-
there's one at Center Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, those classes and those kids can see their art
Yeah.
in the public space on their way to school every day. And it could be like something to aspire to when you get to whatever 3rd grade.
Mhm.
There were contests every so now.
Yeah.
For the utility box project.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can approach this from multiple angles. Okay, so but let's start like discussions like outside of meetings about what's appropriate for the different locations.
Mhm.
And what medium is appropriate, whether it's a wrap or actual paint, and who is appropriate to look at, you know, as get proposals from.
And was
Like,
it-
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
there's the walkway to the parking garage. There are 2 murals there. One was done by Jenny Williams, and one was done, I think, by Riverside, or was it Riverside School did it, or it could have been Valley View, I'm not
Definitely
sure.
elementary school.
They talked like on the inside of that little.
Yeah. On the upstairs. And I understand that we may have to move those anyway because of the Springbrook Apartments project. So that may come under the Public Art Commission's.
I bet you guys will have to figure that out.
Yes, I talked to Jenny Williams about that actually. She said paint it on canvas, which is attached to the wall.
Okay.
For hers,
Which glued the canvas to the wall.
I don't know if it was glued or screwed. It may be on canvas and a frame screwed to the wall. I'll go take a closer look at it.
I think I recall seeing screws in it.
Okay, there could be just screws that are like framed around the canvas, which is glued to the wall, but we'll figure it out. And the other project's a kids project. But those, you know, those were a little like a shot of public art for Oneonta. And unfortunately, they're almost hidden in a walkway.
Mhm.
You know, people going from point A to point B or getting to their cars, so we were not looking around for stuff like that. Do we want to talk anything?
Oh,
Yes,
well, I know, so we're gonna walk through the Springbrook and it's gonna be that area, the building is gonna be owned by Springbrook, but the city will be partnering with them for a private partnership in order to maintain the through space. And I know that they were talking about just making it a little bit more upscale, and I wonder if that would be a cool place to do like an artist highlight,
Mhm.
monthly, quarterly.
Is there a plan of what that space is gonna look like?
I feel like I've seen renderings. Yeah, Karen's nodding yes.
Can we get like I mean, is that gonna be their private lobby, or is it gonna be a
No,
heat
the city
elevator?
will. It's a heat elevator, I think, but the city will, or no, I think they were saying that the elevator will go down, but not up without a key.
Okay,
And yeah, it's like, I feel like when I saw renderings, it was like kind of an upscale, and we want to have like art on the walls rather than like the mural and the,
yeah, we can get a
Business
copy of
card
the
thing.
lobby rendering, so maybe we can
yeah,
help out with that project.
yeah.
Okay,
That'd be cool. I mean, it's a good space, I think, to consider for art. The only thing that I was gonna interject before is maybe deciding who is gonna reach out to the utility company.
I've already got I've got an email for somebody who deals with public for NICEAG. I just contacted him. And I'll send him an email tomorrow.
Sweet. Chair on the job. Thanks.
Anything else on the old business stuff? I think we're starting really good discussions about the utility box art thing, which I think will be a great, easy way to get to public art, especially if it's, you know, a yearly thing in some places. And, you know, a tug on the heartstrings in other places by the schools, you know, because that gets the community involved. You want to do new business? Maybe?
Yeah, no.
Michael Stolzer, he's an artist, lives in Oneonta, in the town of Oneonta. He approached the city of Oneonta with, a couple of years ago, with an installation of a series of bronze figures on the facades of buildings downtown. If you don't know him, there's the old, was it Vets Club on Main Street, between Muscles in Motion and the firehouse, where he's got a figure suspended from his turret on his building. He proposed doing like 6 to 12 inch bronze figures, and he actually talked to building owners that he knows, the rental business company, and they were amenable to this years ago. The price though is pretty steep, and it's $3,200 a 12-inch climbing figure. That's in bronze. I talked to him about less expensive ways to do it, and he said, yeah, you probably do like a cast resin figure for a lot less, like the one he's got hanging on his building. So I don't know if that would be a project to pursue as a conversation starter for people walking down the street.
I liked the idea, like he was saying, it being like a aha moment, sort of seeing one and be like, oh, that's kind of weird, and then catching the other ones here and there.
Right.
Naked people downtown is always a conversation.
I would say this isn't on the
Sounds
forefront of our
like
projects.
Well, they were like 8 at the time, but my nieces are the ones who pointed that out to me, and they were like, "There's a bug." Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, people notice.
Right. So
But
I mean,
there's a second one, right, in the first ward, on the east end, there's a second figure.
Really?
Is it the same, is it him? You guys are.
I don't know, where is that one?
Do you guys know where like Brooklyn Boy hair salon was?
Yes.
Oh, the man, no, it's mannequin.
It's a.
Oh, the mannequin on the balcony. Is it on the balcony
It's
there?
a silver lady, yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a mannequin, yeah.
Oh,
that was,
That's been up there for a while.
that's back when it was Nana's like antique shop or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
Anyway, to make it people high up, I assume they were related, but I guess.
Well, I mean, we can certainly talk
interest.
to the artist about making them less naked looking. It doesn't,
They're gonna be pretty small and high up, you're not
Right,
gonna
yeah,
see much
so-
of anything.
It doesn't bother me.
Right.
Didn't know if that was part of the
Sorry,
proposal.
Jimmy.
I feel like we would be.
I had one. I'm okay with
The
it.
question stands.
Yeah, so I think this is a great idea, and I think it, like, in especially that aha moment for city residents and visitors. And it could be one of those things that make people, like, as they're walking down Main Street, realize there's something going on, and maybe gets them to step off Main Street, so, you know, step down to Market Street and see them, or, you know, go to Wilbur Park and, you know, find one in a tree. And it could be one of those things that we, you know, we map out or give hints to.
I would say, don't map out, but there's 16 of these hidden around town, can you find them, or just give them a number so they know. if
Right,
it's-
maybe we could do
I
a
don't think there's gonna be
Pokemon
16 at this point.
thing. Yeah, I don't think we want that.
No.
Unless we get that 1% for art, then we
Right,
get
don't
16.
spend it all on.
Yeah, no, I mean, make art a treasure hunt, because art is a treasure, you know, it's like, get people out walking around, make it a walkable downtown, not just driving down, parking your car, getting something on Main Street, getting back in your car and going home. You know, this is the idea behind public arts, this is the idea behind, the vanity projects of the Gilded Age, where they build a library or a theater. It was to get people to go downtown and stay there for a while. So this, I think, is like one of those projects that would certainly fulfill that mission. Just like the utility boxes, just like the public murals and getting sculpture in Needle Park and Willow Park.
The biggest question is just the budget.
Right, this is the cost, right?
Where that budget comes from, and also that, this was not something that was any call for, Michael just came to us and said, hey, I'd like to
Right,
do
propose
something,
something,
yeah.
Is it possible for us to also look for grants to help pay for it?
Sure. I mean, the city can be a grant dispensing agency for that. Any nonprofit for that matter could be a grant dispensing agency for that, but really what it would come down to then, an artist making, private agreements between themselves and the building owners to say, hey, I'd like to do this as an art project, which is, I mean, fine. If we want to have a comprehensive art program, maybe something like this should be included in the comprehensive plan. The ability to do something like this. That's my 2 cents on that.
When you say the ability to do something like this, you mean just coming to us with the project already mapped out?
No, well, yes, and the ability to do this, this kind of aha art, or having us support that, either financially in some manner or logistically. It's like, we don't have to be specific, I don't think, in the grant plan. We could just say, like, this is one of those options that you could do.
So one option is just cold call proposals coming into us.
Right. And do
Do we
exactly
have like a proportion of our budget that is for the cold calls? Like, because, I assume that there's gonna be a flat possible budget.
Are you assuming that we're gonna have a budget? Or like, it could be that, or, I mean, look at, we're at the beginning of a great adventure here.
Yeah.
We could, come up with a master plan, go to the city council and say, this is fantastic, we're gonna give you a budget of $50,000 a year, have at it. Or we're gonna give you 0.25% for art, which is gonna generate, some years will generate $100,000, some years will generate $10,000. But, the Arts Commission needs to have the ability to be flexible enough to say, this is a great project, let's do it, we'll contact building owners, we're saying, this is really not gonna fit into our master plan, can you rework it? Here's our master plan, could you rework it so it fits into this? And we'll accept the proposal. I mean, ultimately, I think Stephanie had brought up, our ability to say no, or our ability to say yes for specific projects, and we have that ability. It's really up to us. We're writing the future on this. Okay, so this is just something to put in our plan or what we're gonna do. We talked already about percentage for art and or budget for the Public Arts Commission, and I think it's gonna be up to us now to come up with some sort of comprehensive plan for places to put art in the city, types of art to put in those places.
Well, with that, we could just throw Ian's document there. I mean, basically, it is already mapping out where things can go. Like you were saying, you can add layers. You can just have a layer of murals, have a layer of sculptures, and easy thing to just
Right.
grow and change.
The easiest thing to do would be to identify city properties that we put murals on, and whether they're seen from the highway or seen from walking up close. We can identify, work with the utility companies to identify spaces for that. And we can also reach out to building owners on, Center City to start with. Whether it's the foothills, because they've got that giant blank wall that stares up South Main Street. Or, the apartment building owners.
Yeah, Wayne Carrington was saying.
Yeah.
With the new building, it's working on this, something he'd be interested in.
Right.
Something about which buildings it's.
On
It's
Deep
on
Street?
Deep Street.
Where the Palace Barber was?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yes, that one just. sold,
Yeah, he
right?
bought that building, he's gonna put a bakery in there.
Okay.
I think apartments too.
Yeah, maybe apartments.
Or Kieran or something.
But that's got a blank wall that faces up Deep Street and
Yeah,
faces
that
the.
was one that I take a picture of.
Yeah,
And that has the old mural on one side, doesn't it?
I think it does.
We have some great alleys too.
Yeah.
I would wait until the city decides whether it's gonna take control of the back of Main Street. I know this has been a discussion of council for years about creating and maintaining a thoroughfare behind those buildings. I think they're all privately owned. From what I've heard, Community Bank is really unwilling to change the landscape they have in order to make it accessible.
Serpentine walkway.
Yeah, Serpentine walkway in their parking lot. And I know that certain council members have been getting complaints about, the maintenance of the space back there. And I've been pushing for the city to take control of it. So once the city takes control of that, then I think we can approach the alleys. Great. Anything else for new business?
Yeah. Do we have a date for the building being launched?
So vaguely,
A range.
Yeah, there's a range. So we are gonna review a contract for demolition at our finance meeting on the 28th, and then I'll know for sure. But what I have been told is May to September.
Oh, okay, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
So-
don't want that to languish. Let me get that artist on the wall as soon as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, luckily it's not April,
Right,
but
Yeah.
May's not much.
but you know what, even if it's up for just a month, it'll give people time.
That's all we're gonna need.
And, maybe we can auction off the panels.
That is one nice thing about it, it's,
Good idea.
And then raise money for our budget.
That's a big nursing.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure we can do that, but I like that idea.
Okay, additional business. Talked about the date. I asked Carrie when I got in here, have we heard anything back from Lou regarding the service dog more proposals, and we have not. Brought up the murals for additional business. Anybody else have any other additional business?
Just, I guess, updates on the two things that I brought forward. So the poet laureate, my report is that I have nothing to report. I totally backburnered that for now. I haven't reached out to anyone. But it's in my notes and I will do it. The other thing is the telephones of the wind. So I took that to the Parks and Rec Commission. That's the telephone that's not connected to anything. I took that to the Parks and Rec Commission at the same time as a proposal for a little free library was submitted to the Parks Department. And so they kind of fall under the same process of like some from the public wanting to install something on city property. And so that was met with like great enthusiasm from the Parks Commission. And the Parks Administrator and the City Administrator and the City Attorney have identified a process in order for that to move forward. So it seems like that will go forward in the next, this year. And so, if there are some design considerations to come for the commission, I'll bring them.
Okay, I mean, is the city are we gonna be charged with looking for a telephone booth or?
No, the For this, but actually for both of them, the people who want to install it are going to do all the. They're gonna like partner with the city in terms of like DPW
Okay.
to, you know, get it in the spot, but they're gonna do all the sourcing.
Do you know where it's gonna
They're
go?
not looking for funding from the city at all.
Okay, do you know where it's gonna go?
Yeah, so I actually walked with her, in Wilbur Park and we landed on a spot down near, do you know where the Kiwanis Pavilion is?
Yeah.
Down there, like if you head toward the hill with the water treatment plant, there's sort of like a little wooded area there, so
Okay.
it's accessible, which is important.
Right.
Yeah, for, you know, for accessibility issues, but also, or considerations, but also, safety considerations.
Is there gonna be power there and lighting and?
So there's lighting in so the installation doesn't need any power, but there's lighting like around that loop around the Kiwanis Pavilion. I think,
Yeah,
If
along
I
that,
recall
along
correctly.
that walkway, there's lights.
yeah, okay,
Great.
yeah,
We can add that to our map of stuff to do.
totally.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, and I don't know if like you guys would wanna do like as a layer, maybe the little free libraries, because there are already 2 in the city and a third one is going up and they just kind of gain. I feel like they're gaining popularity and there may be more at some point, but that little free
Right, but
library.
those are run by private people, like they're just put, like people are putting them in their yards.
Isn't that like an organization and you have to like pay to have it be called a little for like?
I don't think so. There are free like templates online, so you can build your own.
That's what I hope.
Yeah, one's in Wilbur Park, right?
One's in Wilbur
Yeah,
Park,
yeah.
One's by the food pantry.
yeah,
Okay.
and then the third one is actually going in Wilbur Park, also up by Appleblood Gardens.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah,
Where's that?
like the landscaped portion in the upper part,
Yes.
that's Appleblood Gardens.
So these are private individuals who are just like picking in money and say, hey, build this? or-
Yeah.
Okay. Can we spread those out to different, like, parts of the city? I mean, I see we're concentrating 2 of them in Wilbur Park, and then,
The libraries specifically, the
Yeah.
libraries. Yeah, so the one is on private property, it's in someone's backyard and it
Right.
faces the park.
yeah,
The other one, they specifically requested Appleblood Gardens. Yeah, I don't know how much control they have over the locations, but I agree, it'd be nice to see them in other places in the city.
okay.
I have a plan for my yard, in Center City, but I don't want to tell anyone what this, because I don't want anyone to do it before I do.
Do we have anything else?
Master plan, a little more work on it. I'm assuming the city has their own liability waiver.
Mhm.
Okay, I did grab one and change it around just so we had something, but I was guessing.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm-
I think actually, is that, oh no, I'm sorry, that's something else, but I think I have it, a copy of it, I didn't send it to you,
Yeah, I can put it on there.
that'd be great.
And then what else do we want to see on there? We're talking about this comprehensive plan. Is that something separate or is that something we're gonna try to tie in?
Well, that should be part of the master plan, the comprehensive plan for a public art. And basically what we should be saying is, like, we're gonna decide is, are we gonna have a sculpture trail in a place like Neola Park and Willow Park? And these are gonna be like medium to large scale sculptures, I would imagine. I mean, I'm just imagining this stuff. Our utility box art project, identify where we could do murals. What else?
Why can't we keep it just real broad, identify locations throughout the city of Oneonta and to install a variety of projects, including but not excluding X, Y,
Yeah, no,
and Z.
I would keep it.
Okay,
general.
Don't want to go too specific, this is the project here.
Right,
Okay,
but ultimately, what they're gonna wanna know, the council, is what projects, how much they cost, who's gonna maintain them, who's gonna be liable, all that stuff.
yeah. Well, I mean, that the cost and who's doing it, that comes when the
That
project.
comes, yes, that comes later, but yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna have to organize like, is DPW gonna be responsible for mowing around something? Or what if they bump into it, their mower? Every artist, I assume, carries insurance for their work, or should carry insurance for their work, should it be damaged by an act of nature or an act of human nature. You know, will the city be responsible for mounting it, you know, if it's a sculpture? You know, should we be providing concrete pads? Are we gonna, you know, anchor them to the ground in some fashion? I mean, we'll probably have to figure that stuff out too. Like a good person to talk to, I guess, would be David Hayes, who's got a lot of experience with his father's collection and moving that around and, you know, setting it up and stuff like that. Or Jay Roth, who did large scale sculptures at the Gilbertsfield Garage. He was an artist in residence there for a year.
Well, he started an artist residency program there.
Yeah, what's that?
That place is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah. Maybe we should ask Catherine what they do in Cherry Valley too, because, I mean, that sculpture trail is temporary.
Right.
So I don't know, do they have like pads that are reused every single time?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's a great idea. If we want to have temporary sculptures, provide pads to place them on. We can have a sculpture garden area, but the sculptures themselves rotating them out. Right.
And I wonder if we could partner with Job Corps and have them, the masonry program, create pads. Or, you know,
Cool.
Just the Miller
That's a
Park,
good
Miller
idea.
pad, or is that
which part?
the
Miller Park.
Miller Park?
I don't know, you know what, I literally never set foot in that park, I've only driven by.
Maple Street Park?
No, the.
Miller Park.
The one
Miller
across
Park's
the,
a little through trees.
Yeah.
it's got like the tree with the birds in it,
Uh-huh.
it's right across from Kleinman.
Mhm.
The pavement.
Atop of Maple across the street from the apartments there.
No, the intersection of Athletics Highway and Main.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
near
just a
the-
little corner.
Yeah.
There's a art piece in there, and it's like a tree, it's got some birds, but I don't know if it was planted in the ground or if it's on a pad or what.
Or who did
Did
that?
the city do the installation, or did Alan pay for that?
I don't know. I know he was a big contributor to a majority of the project, I just don't know if that's him.
I think he had, I know the plantings were done by, what's the place down River Street?
Asbury Gardens.
Asbury Gardens, yeah. All right, well, we got stuff to do for the next month. People to talk to, places to go. It's gonna take a while to get this up and running.
Would it be possible to just do a blanket email to? Like, do we have a list of downtown business owners? They've got their own group or organization.
Is that something we can get from, it's called Chamber of Commerce?
For Destination Oneonta?
Yeah, like, could we just put out basically a call for buildings, like, hey, if you're interested in having your building or property be the site of potential public art, let us know.
Honestly, I bet DO would put that out to their email blast as well.
Save us a lot of pavement.
Yeah. But we really do need to talk about what we're selling. I mean, that's gotta be in the call for buildings, like, you know, we wanna do this style of mural, whether it's, you know, art or wayfinding. You know, what the material is gonna be in the building, who's gonna upkeep it, who's gonna install it. I mean, I asked a building owner down on Market Street a few years ago about, like, you know, would you want that mural, like repaint things like that? But, you know, we'll have to figure out the nitty gritty stuff, because what we have to do is anticipate the questions they're gonna ask, and maybe send some of that information in the proposal. And then when we meet with them, you know, have the answers ready, like what kind of questions, like who's gonna be? Am I gonna be maintaining it? You know, are they gonna, is the city gonna pay for liability for them to be on a scaffold to paint my building? You know, what's the effect of that paint gonna be on the bricks of my, you know, 1880 three-story building? I have no idea. I mean, that may be a question to ask other our commissions. How do you approach doing murals and buildings? And we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Like, you know, the woman from Coral Gables or wherever is gonna send me stuff on their artist contract, their liability waiver, and how they do their call for artists. I mean, we've looked at other call for artists, but we're not in this alone, and they're all facing the same things that we're finding out that we're facing. At least the people I've talked to, like to a person, every person on an art commission I've spoken to, you know, says there's a lack of funding, there's a kind of a lack of buy-in from our city government. They want you to perform miracles for free. So, you know, maybe we can take their collective experience and come up with an answer that will help them too. Okay, all right. So, anyone want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting? Do we make motions to adjourn the meeting? No, okay.
Okay.